Everyone, and welcome back to my channel. We got another bombshell lawsuit that has been dropped. This time it's against a major corporation, Fox Corporation that is in this particular instance. And underneath that umbrella, Fox Sports Holding LLC, Fox Sports 1 LLC, Fox Sports 2 LLC, Fox Sports Productions LLC, as well as on air talent, Skip Bayless, Joy Taylor, and executive producer Charlie Dixon. The complaint was filed by a hairstylist that works for Fox Sports, Faraji Nushin. She alleges that there was a hostile work environment going on due to her gender, race, national origin, disability, a failure to prevent harassment, negligent supervision, hiring and retention, retaliation, actual battery. We try not to say that as the beginning, but actual battery, if you get the hint there, as well as a wrongful termination. This was filed in the county of Los Angeles. Now, I'll read a little bit of the lawsuit and then I'll just provide my opinion on it. So let's go ahead and go down here. And in approximately 2012, a makeup artist who would do Miss Walden and or Miss Berman's makeup when Miss Faraji worked on their hair recommended Miss Faraji for a position at Fox. Fox then hired Miss Faraji as a part-time employee. When hired, Miss Faraji was asked to bring her own tools for her work. She would later discover that all her coworkers received a kit fee for bringing their own tools. However, she herself would not receive a kit free until 2019. So 7 years had gone by after Fox had hired the individual who brought the complaint, Miss Faraji. 7 years has passed. She's I was supposed to be getting paid for this, right? All right, moving on. In addition, while Miss Faraji was a hairstylist, an example styling hair, her supervisor, Gina Peretti, or Miss Peretti, also required that she do the job duties of a barber, an example, cutting hair. When Miss Faraji complained to her union, they told her that while cutting hair was not in her contract, Miss Peretti was known to be difficult and it was best to just comply with her request. Accordingly, throughout her tenure, Miss Faraji both styled and cut hair. In 2016, Fox hired Miss Faraji as a full-time hairstylist. In approximately March 2016, Miss Faraji met Miss Taylor, this is Joy Taylor, an aspiring sports personality that had recently moved from Miami to Los Angeles for the opportunity of airtime at Fox. At the time, Miss Taylor did not have a regular position, but would fill in on a day-to-day basis when talent was sick or otherwise missed time. Miss Taylor told Miss Faraji that she was recently wed, but her husband remained in Miami and that she was lonely in Los Angeles. Miss Taylor then befriended Miss Faraji. In approximately 2016, Miss Taylor asked Miss Faraji to meet for a drink in Santa Monica. When Miss Faraji arrived, she found Miss Taylor with an older man, Fox Sports Executive Vice President of Content, Mr. Dixon. As Executive Vice President, Mr. Dixon is responsible for overseeing all content and production on FS1 or Fox Sports 1. Miss Faraji, however, did not know Mr. Dixon. When Mr. Dixon went to buy them another round of spicy margaritas, Miss Faraji asked who he was, and Miss Taylor responded that he was just a friend. Following that night, whenever Miss Faraji would meet with Miss Taylor for drinks or food, Dixon would either arrive with Miss Taylor or show up later in the night and leave with Miss Taylor. He would always buy rounds of drinks and or food. Put a pin in that. At some point, when you realize every time you're meeting somebody and someone else is always there or showing up, and this person is a married person, we can kind of go out on a limb and saying something's not right, and or you are being used as a decoy or as a cover-up, right? Because every time I meet you, you're with somebody else and you're married. And you're meeting with another, a guy, and you have a husband, all right? All right, so now that we have a pen in that, we'll move along. Ms. Faraji suspected that the pair were sleeping with each other, and although this concerned Ms. Faraji as she knew Ms. Taylor was recently married, Ms. Faraji kept her opinions to herself. All right, so she kind of got the feeling like, hey, something's up, something in the water's not clean. In approximately June 2016, while at work, Ms. Faraji noticed Mr. Dixon in the elevator. Surprised by the coincidence, Ms. Faraji found Ms. Taylor and told her excitedly, "The guy who always buys our drinks was in the elevator." Ms. Taylor quickly silenced Ms. Faraji, explaining who he was. Ms. Faraji became alarmed and warned Ms. Taylor that such a relationship was unsafe. Ms. Taylor told her not to worry about it. Ms. Faraji continued to be friends with Ms. Taylor, but tried to distance herself as she considered the situation dangerous, as well as morally wrong, as Ms. Taylor and Mr. Dixon were both married. So she sees the guy in the elevator. She's like, oh my goodness, the guy who always buys us drinks. I don't know why that just sounds like a 21-year-old. No shade to the 21-year-olds, but as a grown woman, you would kind of... Anyway, moving right along. In approximately July 2016, word spread amongst Fox employees about a new show that was going to be a big deal as it would star Mr. Bayless and Shannon Sharp. It was known that Fox was looking for a woman with significant TV experience to also star. Therefore, it came as a surprise when Fox announced that Miss Taylor, who was a bartender and radio host in Miami with very little TV experience, would be the moderator of the new show. A sports debate program, Skip and Shannon, Undisputed. Mr. Bayless, and this is Skip Bayless, later disclosed to Ms. Faraji that he did not want Ms. Taylor on the show, but Mr. Dixon was adamant that Ms. Taylor should star. At first, Mr. Dixon arranged a dinner between Mr. Bayless and Ms. Taylor, where she arrived in provocative clothing and acted in a provocative manner. When that did not change Mr. Bayless' opinion of Ms. Taylor, Mr. Dixon asked him to approve of her as a favor to him. Reluctantly, Mr. Bayless agreed to do so as a favor to his friend. So Skip was probably like, I see this kind of chick, from a mile away. She's bad news. I already know what she is. I know what this is, rather. And this is not good. So he already can kind of, again, he's an older gentleman. He's been in the game for quite some time. And you can kind of pick up on a vibe of a person like, okay. And then she's showing up in the provocative way, acting, provocatively. He's like, okay, no. But all right, that's my friend. All right, guys give guys the side wink. Okay, I get it. You're allegedly hitting that. Okay, cool, whatever. Anyway, so we're going to move right on along through the lawsuit. Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's pretty lengthy. It's 42 pages. On January 14, 2017, Ms. Taylor had a birthday party at Pearl's Rooftop in West Hollywood. Ms. Faraji and other Fox employees who were invited attended as it were part of their job duties to appease talent, and a birthday party is an important event. As usual, Mr. Dixon was heavily drinking, buying drinks for everyone on Fox credit card and blustering that everything purchased was on Fox's dime. As Ms. Faraji was standing near the bar facing the crowd, Mr. Dixon approached her. He asked the bartender for a drink and then placed his arm on Ms. Faraji's lower back. He asked how she was doing, if she was having fun, and if she wanted a tequila shot. Ms. Faraji felt very uncomfortable by his unsolicited touching and responded, "No, thank you, Mr. Dixon." No, thank you. Mr. Dixon then moved his hand lower and started rubbing her body and grabbing her buttocks. Ms. Faraji was mortified, but quickly thought to fake an incoming call to escape the situation. Ms. Faraji did not know who to turn to, but as she knew Ms. Taylor was sleeping with Mr. Dixon, she turned to her. Surprisingly, Ms. Taylor responded to get over it and explained that she herself only had her job because of Mr. Dixon, and that Ms. Faraji only had her job because of Ms. Taylor requested her. She warned that Mr. Dixon could take both away. So sounds like Ms. Faraji was like, well, at least he's sleeping with her, so maybe she'll feel defensive, or not defensive, but possessive in some sort of way. Like, hey, this married guy you're sleeping with is trying to now mess with me. And maybe kind of like a woman thing would be like, oh no, he has to be faithful to me, his mistress. I don't know what the logic is, but I think she thought that in some way that she would at least kind of throw a monkey wrench in there, right? And Miss Taylor was like, no, pretty much, I'm working here because he got me the job, and you're working here because I got you the job. And so go with the flow, girl. This is quid pro quo, allegedly. Go with the flow. I'm prostituting. I'm whoring here, right? Whatever the case may be. Anyway, not making light of it, but she didn't have her back, and that's what Miss Faraji was going for. So Miss Faraji was terrified and then turned to her coworker, Anonymous, to discuss the situation. And Anonymous responded that Mr. Dixon was disgusting, that the entire situation was sick, but that it wasn't shocking given Fox's culture, and that Miss Faraji should remain quiet if she wanted to keep her job. As a single mother who needed the job to support her son, Miss Faraji had no choice but to remain silent. Okay. 7 years later in 2023, Miss Peretti told Miss Faraji that she did not like her or anything about Undisputed. And this is her, Miss Faraji supervisor. Miss Peretti expanded that she had already scheduled someone for the hair on Undisputed when Mr. Dixon called her and told her that she must put Miss Faraji on Undisputed full time. Miss Peretti told Miss Faraji, I didn't like that. That's not how things should be done. Miss Faraji was stunned and devastated as she prides herself on her work and earning her accolades. Later that day, while thinking about her career, she was angry that Miss Peretti succumbed to Mr. Dixon's request, as it gave Mr. Dixon the feeling that he could grope her for giving her a job. So Miss Faraji's already, and I'm going to cut it there, kind of, from that point, you can kind of get the gist of what's going on, allegedly with the company and with the alleged, harassment that's going on and things of that nature. So she felt like she got a job promotion because she got her butt grabbed. And for some people that might be fine, but obviously for her it's not. Here's what I would like to add to this whole fiasco that's going on, and I'm sure more information will come out with the lawsuit. And as again, Skip Bayless is in the lawsuit, who was a former employee, was an employee at the time, but now former employee over at Fox Sports. And here's the thing, Joy Taylor, and here's the thing. And they alleged that Joy Taylor was sleeping with another on-air talent. And here's the thing that's really disparaging. It's something that we hear on, throughout time, right? Where there's people in, positions of power. If you want to get up there, you got to go with the flow. It's the big boys club, or it's the cool kids club. It's whatever. You have to go along to get along, right? Wrong. Because it never stops. It's a never-ending cycle or a circle. And really I don't know what it was about her, Joy Taylor, I'm speaking of, when she just came out of nowhere, to me, in my opinion, on the channel, on the broadcast there on Fox Sports. I was like, who is this person? And I thought it was weird then. But now, obviously that's why. When someone comes to you, here's two sides to the coin. Miss Faraji's going to her for support or for something, like, hey, the guy you're sleeping with is now trying to sleep with me. One, know who you're going to. And if a person is of lower character and lower self-value, chances are that's going to be across the board, right? On the other side of that coin, for Joy, someone who you took on as your hairstylist and got you this job, I would think there would be some type of conversation, some type of support. Some type of empathy, because she's not like me, right? She's not trying to sleep her way up to the top. So, hey, I'm sorry that happened to you. None of that, It's like, hey, get over it, because I'm keeping my daggone job, It's really disparaging and discouraging for the women that work really hard to get where they are, and who work really hard to get to a higher level, but will hit a ceiling not just because of plain old, misogyny, but because of women, allegedly like joy. Like, okay, if me not sleeping with you is going to be the one thing that's going to hold me back from getting that promotion or from getting that job, okay, I'll open my legs. I mean, if that's all it takes, I'll bend over. How do you want it? Sure, I'll kneel. Okay. But for the women, and this happens to men too, but I'm not a man, so I'm not going to try to speak for them. It definitely happens to men too. But just as a woman who works really hard, and I know there's millions of women that work really, really hard, probably overqualified, and then to see your promotion just like dwindle away, or to see that you've hit that ceiling, and this is why a lot of people are going to, especially women, are opening up their own businesses. Because of allegedly, people like joy. Women like joy that will sleep with whomever in the room or everyone in the room, to get where I want to be. If my body, if I got to put that up as a bargaining chip, I will. And will lose not one bit of sleep. There was a Tyler Perry movie that, The Family That Prays, has Kathy Bates, Sanaa Lathan, Alfre Woodard. It's a really good movie where the woman is, Sanaa Lathan's character is sleeping with her boss, even though she's married, to get ahead at at her job. And her husband finds out about it, and she pretty much tells him, "You're nothing," And, as the young people say, and did, And in the end, she ended up nowhere because the guy was never going to get whatever little fantasy that she had in her head. It was not going there. It was all just a fantasy, a lie that the guy was telling her boss, in this, what I'm talking about. And she ended up nowhere. And now we're potentially looking at, and I never wish downfall on anybody because things happen, right? But it's a quote that Nene Leakes said on one of those Real Housewives shows, something like, you never win when you play dirty. And sometimes you win for a little bit, but, at some point, it's going to stop. At some point, somebody's going to pull the buck, the thread is going to unravel, the rug will be pulled out from underneath you. So I would like to just say, and I could go on, and I probably will make probably 2 videos on this because I have so much to say. But I like to keep my videos short. I know everyone's busy. For all of the people out there that try to do things the right way and keep going, keep your morality, your self-value, your self-esteem intact. Keep going. Don't give up. Don't quit. And for all of the people out there that's turning on the lights and pulling the rugs from underneath people's feet and say, hey, this is wrong, shout out to you as well. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe if you like. Thanks for watching.